Hi, Candy here. This video is going to be for Patreons only. I'm going to share how I sent energy and breath to a body in the summer of 2022. This was a friend of my oldest son's. He's 27 now. And to give you a little bit of background, in the summer of 2021, I had went and studied auricular acupressure. And in 2015 is when I first heard about how you can send or stimulate the adrenal glands by working on certain neurological points on the body. And I heard that from my mentor, my cellular detoxification teacher, a biochemist, a naturopath, who also had experience working in the ER. He had done nuclear medicine way back in the day. And he shared about how an instance where a lady was flatlining and they were all coming in to run the code, and he started working on the arch of her foot, and boom, her heart started beating. I did diagnostic ultrasounds for 24 years. One of my jobs was for a group of for cardiologists, and I did the vascular ultrasounds there. And they sent me for ACLS training, which stands for Advanced Cardiac Life Support. I had the CPR card. And basically what they teach you in that class is how to run a code and what rhythm the heart is in. We're looking at the left ventricle or the left atrium, and because you've got an EKG going, and then what drugs you would push. And the lady, I'll never forget, said this is about 30% effective. And I was like, whoa. In the early 90s, my first ultrasound job was for a group of gastrointestinal specialists. They would do the EGDs, where you take the scope and go down the esophagus and look at the stomach or up the rump and check out the colon. And they would use Versed and maybe Demerol. I forget the other pharmaceutical drug they would use to put them in a conscious sedation type thing. And when you were working the recovery and waking them up, sometimes if you want them to breathe for you, you would give them a sternum rub. So I had all that, in my mind as well. So here's what happened. Like I said, it was the summer of 2022. I've been wanting to share this for a while, but the time now is the right time. My oldest son calls me up, and he's in my driveway, and he's like, hey, Mama, I need you to come out here. I need you. You need to come out here. So I went out there, and his friend was sitting in the driver's seat. He's known this guy since he was 15. They played ice hockey together, and he was sitting in the driver's seat, and he was not breathing. His eyes were rolled back in his head back, nothing, not responding at all. So I was like, well, you got to get him out of the car. I can't do anything with him in here. You got to get him out for me. So he pulls him out of the car. We yank his shoes off, and I start working on the bottoms of his feet. And he really wasn't responding to that so much. Now, and what I was thinking, what came to my mind, I was like, wow, he's played hockey since he was a very young boy. His feet were so stern, like almost kind of like Frankenstein feet. Very tall, lanky fella, but his feet were just strong. So I went to his sternum. And like I said, in the summer of 2021, I had went and studied auricular acupressure. So I went straight up to the ear, to the point that corresponds to the adrenal gland, and I worked on it. I worked on him. He would breathe. He was breathing for me. When I would stimulate, he would breathe. I worked on him for 20 to 30 minutes. When I first went out there and we got him out of the car and I started working on him, I thought to myself, wow, this might take a while. I'm going to have to work for a while. I came back in to get on some different clothes. You know, I was out on my pajamas. I had so much confidence, you know, that I could leave him there and come back and then work, and then, you know, he would breathe for me. I knew it. And at that time, my oldest son was filling up a bucket of ice cold water to pour on him, and you kind of want to hit like the lower area, and that did nothing. My oldest son left to go get Narcan, and I had him sitting up and talking to me before my son got back. And as soon as the fella sat up, he opened up his arms and came at me like this. And at first I was thinking, oh, what's he gonna do? What's he doing? He hugged me. He wanted to hug me. He said, "Thank you, Miss Candy. Thank you." I shared that with a good friend of mine that's been a firefighter, or he's retired now, was a firefighter for many years, and worked, you know, Nashville area. So he had responded to a lot of OD calls. And when I told him that part, he's like, "Oh, what did he do? You know, what was he mad? Was he angry?" Because a lot of times when they come to, if they do, they're mad, they have anger, you know, and they could be angry that you interrupted the feel, or, you know, their buzz or their high, or a lot of times it's just because goes along with the harsh substance and like detoxing that out, and then can be some anger there. And also, I don't know, whatever else the people are doing, right? But I feel like this fella had drank some alcohol that night. I have no idea how much. And he had used a pretty harsh substance. And this is pretty common for some years now, that you hear. It could be a minuscule, like a minute amount, and they're out. And what I explain this to be is a neurological event. These things are neurotoxic to the body, and you're going to either stimulate the body or suppress the body. Stimulants and suppressants. And, you know, so this affects the adrenal glands. And they're like your firefighters. You know, they respond to what's going on, and they are your healers. So yeah, I worked on him for every bit of 20 to 30 minutes. I asked him if I could take a picture of his sternum, just to show what it looked like when I got done, you know, because and I would not do one thing differently, not one. There may be a couple of things I would add or, you know, experiment with to see how the person responded. And that would be maybe if there's an extra person and you have some sage, you could burn some sage and just try to clear the energy all around the space that you're in. And another thing would be some somatic breathing technique. Kind of clears your energy and brings, you know, keeps your energy going. I had 100% confidence. I had zero fear. And what I was thinking to myself was, you know, a lot of times what you see is someone they call it OD, overdose, which is really just a neurological event. But anyway, they will overdose and then maybe taken to the hospital, and then maybe to rehab or a halfway house, and then they get out, and then this cycle might happen again, and it's just like a circle loop. Yeah, I did talk to him some when I was working on him, especially, you know, deep midway through, I would say. I started talking to him a bit, and so yeah, there was no doubt in my mind he was gonna come out of this, you know. He was gonna be okay and come back to us. I wanted to share this to boost confidence and to encourage others to not be afraid to use what you've learned. These tools work. I feel like any teacher, parent, coach, friend, everyone ought to know this technique, or know this, have other way, or know of ways to send another being energy. We are energetic beings. And what if you are somewhere where there is no Narcan around, and it would take an hour or more before you could get your hands on any? What if? You know, I would want to know that I could use my hands, you know, and I would want to know the points to go to on the body to stimulate the adrenal glands and to send them energy. One thing I wasn't thinking about, because it just doesn't resonate with me now, and that's giving him any kind of mouth-to-mouth. I wanted him to breathe on his own. It would do no good to try to give, you know, mouth-to-mouth and that kind of thing, or CPR of any, the CPR thing, it just does not resonate. You're talking about your sternum and trying to compress that in an inch or inch and a half, and, you know, and your heart is over here in your left upper chest, and and it's really about energy, you know, and to stimulate the heart to beat on its own, instead of just pressing to see if that's going to get the heart to beat. Doesn't resonate. Not in alignment with that. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I found it to be helpful and encouraging. I feel like it's a good thing for everyone to know, for sure. Thanks for listening.